All right, Texans get a win. A win heading into the bye week. Texans win 13-6. Maybe the ugliest game of the week. I don't know. There's going to be debate about this game versus the Broncos game on Thursday. But a much needed win. Beggars really can't be choosers in this situation. So the Texans get a much needed win. Can't really take it away from them. Biggest takeaway for me was Damien Pierce. Damien Pierce, 26 carries, not quite lighting up the stat sheet, but he's when being trusted upon, Damien Pierce has done his thing. 26 carries for 99 yards, a touchdown. I thought it was good that they went right back to him after the almost fumble. It was good to see that they actually trusted Damien Pierce and allowed Pierce to get into the end zone and do his thing. This is a much needed win for the Texans, and it's somewhat of a humbling loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville goes from being the Las Vegas betting favorites to win the division to a team that has a very long losing streak against the Houston Texans and is now, depending on what's happening in the other games, is now going to be doing what most teams have been doing lately, although Tennessee is in jeopardy of losing to Washington right now. It's 21-17, first and goal on the 2. We'll keep you updated there. But Jacksonville, they went from feeling themselves to now they're in a tough situation. And Trevor Lawrence, Davis Mills wasn't great. 16 of 24, 140 yards. But Trevor Lawrence was bad. The interception in the end zone, the interception at the end of the game, which I really don't fault, and he was really all over the place. His misses were really bad. He was 25 of 47. So Davis Mills, not great, but he really didn't need to be great. Lovie Smith also. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Landry Locker, the Locker Room on YouTube. We keep this coming all the time. We got the post game going throughout, but the subscription would be nice. We do it daily. We keep it going. Going to have some of my buddies here. Put the comments in. We interact. We talk to you. We want to rap with you. Best digital post game show, in my opinion, the best post game show. But I might be a little bit biased. But just keep the comments coming, and we'll keep this going. We got a Facebook user that says Lawrence looked terrible. He couldn't hit anyone. I agree. He was bad. The interception in the end zone was as bad as of a throw as you'll see. I also think we got to give Lovie Smith some credit. I know a lot of people were upset with Lovie Smith for deciding to punt at midfield. I think it was the right decision. I thought it at the time, and I think history was kind to that because you saw the Texans stop Jacksonville on the next series, and Jacksonville did what? They went forward on 4th and 1. I always get amused with the described mindset when coaches decide to do such things. You hear people say, well, he just decided to trust his defense, or why don't you trust your defense? Well, if your defense is playing good, why don't you trust they're going to get you the ball back with better position? Why would you trust your offense, which has struggled on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and not do that? So Lovie was rewarded there. His football team rewarded him, and now the Texans have a win, and they might be falling out of first place when it comes to the standings for the top pick in the draft. Let's invite Cody Stutes into the mix. Cody, how you doing, man? What did you think of the win? What was your biggest takeaway? My biggest takeaway was Damien Pierce, strong workload, heavy workload, and in the big scheme of things, Jacksonville kind of humbled. Jacksonville, I don't want to say they were overconfident, but Trevor Lawrence did get asked what it felt like to have a bullseye on your chest or something like that because they were for 1 week the Las Vegas betting favorite. I'm not going to sit here and bury Jacksonville and say that any progress is lost, but this has to be, as far as like the most significant thing outside of a big win for the Texans, this is a humbling loss for the Jags.
The biggest thing for me is Damien Pierce is a potential star. He's not a superstar. I don't know that he'll ever be a superstar, but could Damien Pierce be one of the 10, 12 best running backs in football on a consistent basis. It certainly appears like he's capable of doing that. And he's doing a lot of this when teams know he's going to get the football, when they know he's running the football. Imagine what he's going to look like one day when teams don't know if he's getting the football and they actually have to respect the passing game of this team. You talked about the Jaguars, really bad day for them all around. Their defense was fine for most of the game. You're not going to be upset if you allow 13 points every week. That'd be the best defense in football if that was your average week allowance. But Trevor Lawrence made some bad plays. And when Trevor Lawrence did hit his guys, ton of drops. And I mean, catchable football, I don't know if that's a thing. I'm not one of those fake quarterback coaches on Twitter where I could talk about who throws and who doesn't throw a catchable football. But
no, those weren't catchable. Shaq wasn't catching those.
No, not the ones over his head. Not the overthrows, not the Davis Mills specials. The ones that hit the guys in the hands and they just drop. I don't know what's going on there. So many drops by the Jaguars. And then the third thing is the growth of Nico Collins continues. This is a guy who he's the number 2 wide receiver, but is he a number 2 wide receiver? I know you've asked that question a lot of times. I think it's a good question about this Texans season that we'd like to know the answer to by the end of the year. Nico had some really big moments. Nico came up strong in some situations where you would think a guy like Nico Collins comes up. And I really enjoyed that performance from Nico Collins. And the defense, no pass rush, but if the other 7 guys on the defense are going to take care of business on a consistent basis, you're going to play that bend, don't break stuff. Some days you're going to walk out of there with a victory because the other team can't make you break.
Yeah, and I think Nico Collins has actually even been better than the stats have shown. That catch that he had where he went up the M1, if you will, where he was interfered with and he moved the chains, that was as big time as it gets. He's been really good. And the most impressive thing about it today is that he was really good and the quarterback wasn't that great. So when the opportunities that he got, he took advantage of. And I will give Davis Mills credit. After his high school buddy or whatever, Trevon Walker threw him down and got the unnecessary roughness, Mills made a hell of a throw to Akins. That was an absolute huge throw, put him in field goal range. And then you had Pierce just dragging dudes down to the 1 yard line. And I was also happy to see that they rewarded Pierce after that and didn't have this like imaginary punishment where you fumble and then you sit him on the bench or something like that. Like when he lost the fumble and they didn't even lose it. And all of a sudden, number 28, Rex Burkhead was out there more than we'd like him to do. I thought it was good that they went right back to him after that. I think that can go a long way, showing your confidence in a guy that, let's be honest, without him, you're not in that situation. You have no chance to win if you don't have number 31 out there.
Really solid fourth quarter from Damien Pierce, really solid fourth quarter from Mills. I mean, you look at it from just a quarter perspective. He goes 5 of 7 in the quarter, 56 yards. He hits 4 different receivers, including those 2 big passes to Nico Collins. One, I think, what did you call it? People on the internet are calling it the Moss, but the one where he just goes over the guy and rips it down. And then the other one,
I call it an AM1. That's AM1, biatch.
Yeah, the and one catch, and then the one that was the real tight window, and just fired it in there to Nico. Had some success with some of those other passes. Jordan Akins had that nice play. That was a gutsy play call on 3rd and 10. We'd seen this team be, less than gutsy on some of these 3rd and long situations. That was after the Titus Howard false start. I know the TV broadcast was pretty critical of that being a Titus Howard false start. Thought maybe it should have been.
That was offsides. That was a bad call.
Should have been offsides. But it goes against you. How many times have we seen this team fold because 5 yards pops up additionally that they have to go? Well, on 3rd and 10, Davis Mills kind of airs one out to Jordan Akins. He makes a play, reaches for the first down. So that was a really nice – I mean, for a team that's been horrible in the fourth quarter, they were really solid in the fourth quarter as a offense and even as a defense as well. And look, the Jaguars help you out a little bit with some of their mistakes, but that's going to be the case. If the Texans are going to win football games, the other team's going to have to make some mistakes and help you out. Can you take advantage of those? The Texans did this today.
Yeah, and I can't imagine. I know it's Mike Meltzer. We're going to bring him on in a sec. I can't imagine what they're saying in Jacksonville right now about their football team, given everything that you saw go on in that one. I mean, that was an ugly loss for them. I mean, it was an ugly win for the Texans, that might be what it needs to look like. But that was an ugly loss. The other thing that I thought was good to see was Derek Stingley playing. And I'm not saying that Derek Stingley's hurt. I don't know how hurt he is, but for a guy who had a bunch of questions about, the whole question was durability and all that stuff. I thought it was nice to see Derek Stingley out there doing his thing. And we gotta stop with this bullcrap Sauce Gardner stuff. Let's give me a break on the Sauce Gardner stuff. I'm not saying he's not going to end up being better than Derek Stingley, but to say that a guy who's faced Jacoby Brissett, Kenny Pickett / Mitchell Trubisky, and today a third-string quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, on top of who knows who else, and the receivers he's faced, is somehow doing a better job than Derek Stingley, who hadn't played football in a while. We got to stop with that crap. That's ridiculous. There's no buyer's remorse. I've watched every snap that Derek Stingley has played. You have too. To suggest that Derek Stingley's just out there getting cooked is stupid, and to suggest that Sauce Gardner, with the bullshit list of quarterbacks that he's faced and the receivers that he's been going against, is somehow Deion Sanders. We need to tap the brakes a little bit on that. That's a joke.
Yeah, Stingley gets his first interception today on a really nice play where
got a little too excited. Although if Trevor Lawrence hangs his head down after that interception instead of coming to try to make the tackle, then might have been talking about something more than just the interception.
Well, I don't care if he saw the pathway. You're more likely to go 80 yards on offense than 100 yards with Derek Stingley and the ball in his hand. So got to go down on that, but I'm not going to be too critical of it because it gave the Texans an opportunity to get the ball back. They had a really solid offensive drive. I would have liked to have seen more from that drive, but you eat a bunch of clock, you shorten the game, and you make mistakes get magnified. Now, obviously, you make your own mistakes get magnified if you do make them, but when the Jaguars are continuing to make mistakes, that their mistakes get magnified because there's less possessions. Stingley, I thought, had another solid game, but there's still some weird stuff that happens just from a schematic standpoint where it looks like Derek Stingley's man is open, but it doesn't.
But it also looks like they're in zone. But it looks like they're in a weird zone.
Right, but it's not like he's trailing the guy and the guy's making a play on him like Mike Williams last week. Like Mike Williams lines up against Derek Stingley and beats him last week. Cortland Sutton a couple weeks ago. Like you want to say Derek Stingley had a rough go against those guys? Yeah, sure, he did. Those guys are really good football players. Today, I'm not going to sit here and try to put a bunch of yards over on Derek Stingley's total here because, like you said, it looks like just the way they've called the defense has guys getting open in the vicinity of him. And really nice football player. Excited to see what he can do as he continues to grow and build on this. And I wonder too, obviously the bye week's coming up, but interceptions seem to come in bunches. So I wonder if he's starting to feel it and starting to see it a little bit better, and we can see a couple of more Derek Stingley interceptions here in the coming weeks.
Mike Meltzer is here. Mike Meltzer, your thoughts on this win? You're probably not excited. You think it's better to lose at this point.
No, I was glad they won the game. Listen, this was one of those Lovie Smith specials, right? The Jaguars doubled up the Texans in total yardage. They had 5.8 yards per play. Yet they had the two big turnovers on downs. They had the huge Lawrence interception. And it felt like after that interception, they just kind of played spooked. And you can't overestimate the impact of that penalty by Travon Walker. Like, it basically ruins the game for Jacksonville. First of all, I'm always annoyed when a defensive player is even at risk of going off sides on a 3rd and 20. Like, what is the team going to do, that the offense that you're facing that is having you, like, even at any risk of getting a penalty in that spot to jump early? And then to complete it by throwing Mills to the ground, like, that's obviously going to be a penalty in the NFL in 2022. And there was a play, I'm forgetting right now, but there was a play decided by a huge penalty, I think, in the league a couple of weeks ago. Like, that play had such a huge swing to it, that penalty by Travon Walker. And listen, like, the Texans won a game in the way that they have to win games, which is, as Cody mentioned, shorten it, get those critical 4th down stops, get the one big interception in the end zone, and then put together really one drive offensively where you punch it in. Great job by Damien Pierce. And it was a nice
Great
win.
job by the staff for giving it back to Damien Pierce too, by the way.
Yeah.
None of that bench stuff. Would it have shocked you if they would have benched him for nearly fumbling and let Burkhead take it in the end zone for the game winner?
In that spot, yes. That was once he had that unbelievable, Marshawn Lynch, Marion Barber-esque run, you knew you had to just keep feeding him the football, like at least the next 2 plays, and then maybe you'd have a decision on 3rd and goal if you got stuffed 2 more times. But that was clearly a Damien Pierce drive.
Oh, clearly? You're positive?
Clearly, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm assuming, and I think this is a foregone conclusion, there's going to be a transaction, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, where Jordan Akins gets signed to the active roster for the remainder of the season, because now that he's on practice squad and he's played 3 games, you have to sign him to the active roster. I think it's a safe assumption to say that's a move that's going to be made this week. He's been pretty good, man. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say that Jordan Akins is, still a really, really good tight end. Maybe it's based on the fact that Brevin Jordan hasn't been that good and hasn't been available, but that was a big, big catch by Jordan Akins on 3rd down after that penalty.
Well, think about that. The O.J. Howard false start. It's still 3rd and 10 at their 38-yard line. I know that Kaimi kicked it well this afternoon, but is anybody going to be confident in a kick of 54 yards or whatever is going to be in that spot? Nobody's going to be confident in that spot. Like, you have to get some yardage, and to get the 1st down, like, that was arguably the biggest play in that drive. Well, not the biggest play considering the penalty, but the biggest play the Texans probably executed in just a tough spot for them at 3rd and 10. I mean, I'll put it this way. If Brevin Jordan had done some of the things that Akins has done the last couple of weeks, people would feel pretty optimistic about Brevin Jordan moving forward. Like if he had just replicated and stayed healthy and done what Akins is doing now.
I feel real good about it. I think
he'll be fine.
We've all had our fun with Jordan Akins and the fact that he's almost 35 years old. I know that's not exactly his age, but he's an older player. He wasn't a really consistent, good football player for this team when he was here on the first run, and he wasn't a good football player, obviously, in training camp, which is why he was available. But he's a better football player than what you had as depth options at the tight end spot. And him and O.J. Howard, 2 guys that weren't even here for training camp, are better than every single one of the guys that were here for training camp. So that's an issue. But it does kind of get you excited about, like, hey,
is it an issue or is it good? Or is it good that it's kind of like a chicken or egg, though? Or is it good that they were able to bring in guys that were better? Like they improved it in that short of a time.
Well, neither one of those guys are long-term answers. You'd agree with that, right?
I would.
Yeah, most likely not.
Yeah. I mean, both those guys are closer to the Rex Burkhead of tight ends than they are a young up-and-coming player.
I think they're at the tight end spot. They're basically doing the equivalent of like going into your garage and finding like any spare tool you can use to get the job done, right? They're just trying to get through this season, and they're going to need upgrades.
There's no way you can relate to that analogy.
Oh, I can't. I'm just saying other people can, not me. I have no garage, and even if I had one, that would be a stretch.
Yeah, you're talking.
Even if I had one, let's be honest here.
Yeah, let's be serious. You're not going into your garage and scrumming up some tools to get the job done, Mike. That's a hell of a analogy by you that I don't think you can even begin to relate to.
Mike
it just
Meltzer,
applies to others.
The common man, Mike Meltzer.
Yeah,
the working man. Comments. Keep them coming. Bill O'Brien would trade Pierce for a tight end. I don't even know if B.O.B. would do that. Now, how much would Pierce be playing? That's another question.
Would you guys like to know the up-to-the-minute draft order right now?
Yes.
The Houston Texans, by virtue of their victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars, went from the top spot in the 2023 NFL draft order to the 7th spot in the draft order. They also possess the 9th overall selection currently because the Cleveland Browns are bad at football.
Yeah, although I don't know if it's updated yet because New Orleans got the win today, right, over Seattle, 39-32. So I think it'll shift a little bit. But, yeah, you basically drop like 4 to 5 spots. And again, I think the question is, how many of these teams are truly in competition for the number one pick? Like, we might need to add Pittsburgh to that list because they were completely non-competitive with Kenny Pickett in there. Now, they're not a team that's in the quarterback market, but we know how that goes. Like, you would trade that pick for somebody who's moving up. The Lions, like, that was a real comeback to earth situation today against the Bailey Zappi Patriots. Washington is in competition for the number one pick, and so is Carolina.
Yeah, you got some contenders that are going to be fighting all the way to the bottom. Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. You got to think Carolina's – there's either going to be a little bit of a dead cat bounce when they fire Matt Rule later this season, or they're going to be even worse once they get rid of Matt Rule. It's not like there's a whole bunch of just offensive or defensive genius on that team that you feel amazing about taking over. They're going to be all of a sudden way better. So Carolina's going to be really bad. The Commanders are atrocious. That's
and I think
that football team.
It is worth discussing because realistically, as much as we're happy the Texans won, it's not like they won this game because Davis Mills played well, right? He didn't do a whole lot.
No.
Yeah, I mean, he made a couple of nice plays, specifically Nico Collins' catch, the Akins first down. But this was not a win where like you were carried in any way by Davis Mills' play. So that's why it's certainly worthy of discussion because, I think did anybody change their opinion about Davis Mills today? Probably not.
Definitely not.
No.
Like not even a little bit.
Yes, mine did change a little bit. I think he's worthy of being the third arm in a training camp next year instead of the fourth arm in a training camp next year.
The third arm in a training camp, huh?
Yeah.
The one guy that I think has impressed has been Nico Collins. I think, and I do wonder, and I think it's connected to the Davis Mills thing, and that's why I bring it up. Nico Collins, that catch that he had at the end, the catches he should have had last week, and the catches he did have, Nico Collins has looked good. And the other thing that we haven't even talked about yet, and I almost feel guilty for not mentioning, just change the linebackers and it helps.
We talked about it last week, right?
Yeah.
They brought in Wallow. We saw
Wallow. We saw Hewitt. Hewitt was out there. We saw a little
tackling machine.
we saw a little Reeves Maben.
Yeah, Reeves Maben
out there with the sleeves. What was it? 12 degrees out there? Yeah, he was looking like Ralphie from Christmas Story on the field. But the linebackers looked. The linebackers looked a lot better this year, and who would have thought it? You just put some different Jags in, and then maybe you hit.
You can still find. Basically, Camus Grugier Hill in coverage looks like that guy.
He looks like bad.
You remember that scene in The Waterboy where their kicker's trying to find who to kick the ball at?
Yeah,
that's basically there's basically Camus Grugier Hill every time he's in coverage. It's like, oh, there he is. 5 yards away from the wide receiver or the tight end.
I feel like every time Lawrence threw over the middle, it was either a 20-yard completion or it was like glancing off somebody's hands, like a drop pass.
What do you think of Trevor Lawrence? Because that's really like one of the most like of all the things that matter the most, like in the big picture, how Trevor Lawrence looks is really the most impactful thing for the Texans. Because no one. There's no hope that Davis Mills is going to end up being the guy. If Trevor Lawrence ends up being what he was regarded as before the draft, you're going to have to deal with that for a long time. If he ends up being bad, then you benefit from that. Like, where are we at on Trevor Lawrence?
I thought looking at today's game, there was a noticeable drop-off in the before the Stingley interception versus Lawrence after. And I want to say on the Jaguars' second to last possession when they turned it over on downs, Jay Feely was very down on them on that 4th and 10. Like, why is your first option there a double move, even though Ingram's a talented pass catcher? But how are you making that? Why is that your decision? And they pointed out that he had 2 receivers that are open that would have and could have gotten first downs. So I thought he played like overly aggressively in a way after that interception by Stingley. At the same time, how many passes do those guys drop? Etienne, Ingram, Jones, just little passes over the middle. I don't know Jacksonville would have come back and tied the game, but those kind of plays are critical in those 2-minute drills. So I thought Lawrence was playing pretty well in the first half, and then after that interception, he was a different guy.
He threw just a total unacceptable interception there. That's not something that a guy that's drafted with the conversation around him should throw or should even be considering throwing.
I think there's something kind of misleading on it, especially when you watch the multiple angles. And I'm not going to say you got to watch the tape, but I think it had just as much to do with the impressiveness of Derek Stingley in that he turned his back to Trevor Lawrence to look to his left. If you look, he looks to his left. He sees Jones coming, and he runs the route for him. There's a chance Lawrence might have thought this guy's back is turned. There's no way he knows what the hell is going on. But Stingley actually turned his back to look at Jones and then ran the route for him. So as bad as it is, and you can't make that pick no matter what, I think Lawrence might have thought Stingley just had his back turned and was in no man's land. Not that he was had the wherewithal and the athletic ability to look at another receiver full speed in the end zone and run the route for him.
I'm watching the play actually as we speak, and what always drives me nuts, I mean, he just didn't see him. Like, he threw the ball to 7, Zay Jones, as if Stingley wasn't there. I never like it when the quarterback has the open window right in front of him, and there's an interception right there. Because I feel like you should see whatever's in front of you. It's one thing if, somebody basically read your eyes or whatever. He just didn't see Stingley drop into coverage the way he did. He just didn't see him there.
Especially when you're kind of, I don't want to say improving on that play, but you're on the move, you're rolling out, trying to make that decision. He threw too many passes that I saw Davis Mills throw over the first 4 weeks. It looked like he was trying to hit Manute Bol on an out route on some of those. Those are really bad plays, and thankfully he was only sort of high on some of them because it felt like Jalen Petrie or Jonathan Owens might have each had an interception if those were just been a little bit more, a little bit higher, a little bit more juice on them. So totally unimpressive day from Trevor Lawrence. That's a day where your quarterback ought to go out there. Your quarterback ought to go out there and win the damn football game for you, and he definitely did.
This could be a disaster, but could I try to share my screen and we all talk about this together like Cody successfully did last week?
Yeah, go ahead.
All
right, let's give this a shot.
I hope you got all your other tabs closed.
Do you even know what you're doing right now?
I think I might know what I'm doing. All right.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
Okay, you see this? Okay,
so
I'm going to hit all right, here we go. So we're going to hit play. So there's Zay Jones.
You got to push share first, sir.
Oh, wait.
I was going to say, I don't see it.
You got to click on the bottom. Click on add to stream.
Oh, hold on.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, is it going now?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So now we're going.
Yeah, press pause. Look at Stingley. I don't know that it's that he doesn't see Stingley. I think it's that he thinks Stingley's back is turned and he's in no man's land. But if you look at what Stingley's doing here, Stingley's looking back at Zay Jones. Trevor thinks that Zay Jones just has to beat the guy to the corner, which he does. But Stingley's actually looking at Zay Jones, and he runs his route for him. Watch.
All right, so he's zoned in there. Now they show Stingley.
Now watch. Stingley's going to run it for him, and he's right there. Boom. So I think Trevor thought that Stingley was going to keep his back turned and was in no man's land, when really Stingley was looking to where he was coming, and as soon as he turns around, he's where that receiver's supposed to be. So I'm not saying that it was a good decision by Lawrence. I'm saying it was just as impressive by Derek Stingley. Watch again. Stingley's looking right at him, and he turns right around. Like, how do you know that you have good instincts when you turn right around and know that the ball's coming there? Look at that. Huh. See?
So, yeah. Lawrence
Lawrence
starts the throw with Stingley's back to him.
Yeah, because and he doesn't know, but look at Stingley's head. His head is clearly right there. Where he's supposed to be.
Right before.
Stingley knew the ball was there before it even got to him. Like, it's not like Stingley broke. Stingley literally turns right around. So that's, to me, that's just as impressive by Derek Stingley.
Yeah, it was a really nice play. I mean, he baited him into it.
Now, maybe take a knee inside the 20, but well.
Yeah,
Rex Burkhead to move the chains and bail you out for that, baby, on a third down run. Little Rex Burkhead. That's right at the front of the highlight reel.
Got him out of jail there in that spot. That was well done. But I thought that was nice to see, because you were waiting for Stingley to really make some sort of big impact in the game. And that, to me, was the game that swung the direction of this game as far as Jacksonville's offense before that play, versus it felt like they were pressing after that play happened. That was my sense in watching it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I do think, and I know I'm joking about it, Rex Burkhead moving the chains on third down was big.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that was like an under the radar, and I know that makes the Texans coaching staff very happy that Rex Burkhead made a big play. But that was a really big play. Did y'all think he should have gone for it at midfield? I did not for a second think that he should have.
I did. I did. Given
I
the
understand
low,
both sides. I just didn't feel that way.
Yeah, I would have gone for it.
Yeah, you were moving the ball well on that offensive possession. It was worth going for it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right at their 49-yard line. I would have gone for it. I think with a team that's not that good, obviously, I typically go for a high variance strategy in that spot.
Paid off though, paid off. But as we promised on this post game show, we try to give you like our first thoughts and our thoughts after. But I thought it was the right call in the moment. But I understand both sides.
I thought on the next possession,
the defense didn't immediately pay off for Lovie Smith for that decision.
Nah, but Doug went for it on 4th and 1.
But getting that stop on 4th and 1 with two guys that had underachieved on the season so far in Malik Collins and Christian Kirksey, that was a really big moment for the Texans defense and felt like it energized them quite a bit, made them feel like, okay, we're in this. They're going to have to really get after us to beat us. And Malik Collins had a really nice game today.
Yeah, he played well.
By the way, go ahead.
I thought on the second fourth down that Doug Peterson went for, I thought Lawrence should have pulled it instead of handing it to Robinson. I thought he had the clearer avenue, and I just think I think he's like an underrated, dangerous runner because he's a good athlete and he's 6'6".
Yeah, he doesn't run as much as he should.
Yeah, he should run a little bit more, like probably 10-15% more. So I thought that was a bad read there by him.
And when he does, he looks comfortable. Like the one that he did run, I mean, he's diving head first with linebackers running full speed at him. So it's not like he's like scared. Just for whatever reason, Trevor Lawrence isn't running as much as he should. And by the way, I talked about Jacksonville potentially being humbled by this. Tennessee lost. Or won, excuse me. They beat Washington. Apparently Carson Wentz did something that has Washington Commanders fans pretty pissed off right now. But the Titans hold them at the 2-yard line, and the Titans are now first place in the AFC South.
All right, so let's check in on this. What's your sense on, I switched my pick just in the moment that I thought 2 weeks ago Jacksonville was the favorite to win the division. What is our sense now on October 9th after these games? Tennessee?
It's anyone. I think it's anyone but the Texans wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Although Indianapolis just doesn't seem. I mean, it just seems like a disaster.
The Colts would surprise the crap out of me.
Yeah, although with Reich, he has been a good coach.
Finisher.
I think, he's been a good finisher.
But does last year take away the finishing reputation? Because normally, like before last year, in 2 weeks before, I would always talk about how Frank Reich's teams finish strong. But does a monumental historical finish like last year take away that notion to where I'm supposed to feel that way? They had a 98% chance to get into the postseason when they were beating the Raiders in week 17, was it?
But I think 17? Yes. Yeah,
we were at B-Dubs, I think. So
I think the Saturday game against the Raiders. The big thing is that they got off the mat after a slow start. So everything looks very bad in Indy now. Matt Ryan looks done. The offensive line looks a lot worse. Taylor's banged up. It just seems like everything's kind of gone to hell. In the past, in these situations, Frank Reich has been able to gather the troops and put together a much better product. How they finish in 2.5 months, I have no idea. But can they look better than this? Yes.
You know why I like Tennessee? Because they strike me as the type of team that would be willing to play a little bit with their future assets here at the deadline to add to their team. I mean, they won today, and I know that it's the Commanders, so it's not super impressive. They won today with one of their 5 regular offensive linemen. Derrick Henry had a really nice day. Tannehill didn't lose him the football game. And look, Mike Vrabel was not a really, really good defensive coordinator the year he called plays as the DC for the Texans.
Did have some injuries, but yeah.
Mike Vrabel's a seemingly fantastic head coach and getting the absolute most out of his roster.
They've overachieved. I was concerned. I wasn't concerned. I just like Vrabes. I was concerned that he was going to kind of be like a victim of overachieving. Because even last year, like I thought it was really kind of chicken bleep last year, the way the Titans lost as the 1 seed in the AFC. and that all of a sudden everybody acted like they just completely plummeted, but there wasn't one single person saying Tennessee is going to make the Super Bowl run. Like all year, as they were atop the AFC standings, everyone was saying, and I do think everyone, I don't remember anyone saying the Titans were going to make a run. Derrick Henry was freaking out, but nobody was saying they're going to make a run. And then they lose as the 1 seed. And it's like, oh, look at Tennessee. Look at Ryan Tannehill. I thought they overachieved.
They've got some fairly winnable games left on their schedule. They got a bye week and then the Colts and Texans to finish out the month. They go to Kansas City. That's tough. They go to Green Bay on a short week. That's tough. They go to Philadelphia, but they have a chance to win almost every one of their remaining games. The Chargers certainly don't look like world beaters. The Bengals don't look like world beaters. Obviously, they got Jacksonville twice. They got the Texans twice still. Cowboys at home. This should be a situation here, you would think, where the Titans should be able to – 10 wins the AFC South, right?
10 wins. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you win the AFC South with 9 wins?
Maybe.
Do I hear 8? Do I hear 8? Is there anybody with 8?
9 and 8, yeah.
It's on the board. Yeah. It's on the board, 8 and 9.
Because they're going to beat up on each other. Yeah, but the other thing is they're going to beat up on each other. Like there's all these teams they play ugly football any given Sunday. So it's not like you have, one team above all the others. Like when Bill O'Brien was winning it with 9 and 7, like the rest of the division was just trash. Yep. So you could say, oh, well, maybe you can win 4 games at least in the division, or maybe you can go 5-1. This year, I don't see anyone in the division going 5-1 or 6-0. They're going to beat up on each other. 9 could easily win the division, easily.
Yeah,
it got you into the playoffs last year. I don't think all division aside.
Yeah, I don't think 8 is off the table. I think it's possible. It's not likely, but like if we were to do like a Vegas big board of what's the record that wins the AFC South, and you had odds for just the record, not even the team, like 8 and 9, like there's a chance of it. It might be like 35-1 or 50-1, but it's on the board there somewhere.
Well, what would you bet on? Like just to put in perspective that it's not crazy. Like if you had to bet let's say you get the right answer and you win $1 million. Like what would your guess be for how many wins the division?
I would guess
if you get this right, $1 million.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess. I think you have to guess 9.
I would guess 9 as well.
Yeah, you got to go 9.
You probably have to go 9. Tennessee, by the way, they have one of those schedules where they'll play Indy in 2 weeks after a bye, so they finish the Indy games. They don't play Jacksonville until the last basically month of the season. They'll play them twice, which
I don't know if that's good or bad. I think that's not when you want to play Jacksonville, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think you'd want to play them right now when they're scuffling a bit. I agree.
When do you want to play the Texans? Trick question.
Probably early.
Yeah,
if you're asking though, probably early. I would think.
I know we jest, but like there are times when like I'm always intrigued by what a coaching staff really thinks of a team in a roster, and sometimes you'll hear the announcer say something like, Robert Saleh or whoever thinks that this team is going to be a much better team in December than September, and I always wonder because I feel like sometimes that's actually true. Like sometimes a coach doesn't just say that; they actually believe it. Are the Texans in a situation where Lovie Smith truly thinks this team is going to be better in December than they are right now? I don't have a good sense of it. Obviously, injuries have a lot to do with that.
The other question is, do they think that it's in their best interest to be better in December? I don't know if they
It depends on the young players. Like if you tell me that Davis Mills starts playing much better and it's led by Mills and Pierce and Collins, then yeah, I'm going to feel decent about it. But that's a gigantic if based on what we've seen from Davis Mills.
Go ahead.
Does today change your opinion that the Texans are the favorite to be the team with the number 1 pick?
Yeah, I think it's yes, because Pittsburgh might be really bad. Washington is absolutely in contention, and not only do you have a win, but you have that tie.
Both of those teams taking a quarterback. Washington is.
Washington is. Yeah. Washington is. The Lions
are. Josh Rosen. Are they going to Josh Rosen or Kenny?
No, I don't think so.
No, they'd pick a defender. Okay.
Yeah, they would.
Will Anderson.
Yeah, Will Anderson and TJ Watt. You think they could get after some people that way?
Yeah, that's more of a Steelers thing. Yeah, they're not going to jettison Kenny after a year.
They're also not going to trade back on the pick either.
How do you know that? How can we know that right now?
because that would be dumb to pass up Will Anderson for some extra picks.
What if
But
they
man,
can
if you
get
could get
what if they
some
can
of
get
these
an
teams-
array? Some of these teams, you know what they'd be willing to trade for C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young? You can be talking about like a complete.
But
and the
but
Lions and
Pittsburgh
Texans have extra picks.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are just a little bit away from. I mean, they just need their quarterback to be better, and they should be a competitive football team.
Have you seen their defense? Dear God, Cody's out.
Yeah, that's why you wouldn't pass up a
TJ
generational
Watt.
defender.
They don't have T.J. Watt.
They're winless
Yeah.
without
Well,
TJ
I know
Watt
they-
since he got
but
drafted.
I've
seen their defense. Their defense tore this pectoral in week 1.
So they're a one-man defense. That's
Well, that's why you would be that's why you'd be a 2-man defense if you drafted Will Anderson, Michael.
But here's the thing, though.
What do you want him
If
to
they-
trade back
but
and
he-
take a fucking
keep in
offensive
mind,
lineman?
Depending on who they trade down with, the team that's trading up is not taking Will Anderson. So they have to move down a spot or
Let's
two.
trade down and take a left tackle instead of Will Anderson.
They might need one. They don't have a good offensive line
No.
either. Their line stinks. Their line's garbage. It's not good. Check out the tweets of at the Pony Express during these.
Oh my
Pittsburgh
God!
games.
He also said that Kenny Pickett was a future Hall of Fame quarterback.
Did he say that?
I'm done with the Pony Express or whatever,
So-
with the Pony, whatever he calls himself. And I like Philipponi, but I legit stopped listening to him when he started saying that Kenny Pickett was going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Michael, you're who's the Steelers GM now?
It's Omar Khan, our old friend.
Yeah, Omar Khan. All right, you're Omar Khan. I'm Nick Caserio. I'm calling you.
Yeah.
You got the number 1 overall pick. I'm offering you 6 and 8 for 1. Are you taking it?
Yeah, I'd absolutely consider it, depending on how the board. I need to look at the board. It's early, but if I really like, if I have
board.
two guys depending on how my board looks, yeah, I'd consider that. I
Because-
consider that.
Board.
Because where it sits
Board.
right now, the Tankathon updated. The Texans are 6 and 8 right now. Pick
Yes.
number 6, pick number 8. I would assume the Cleveland one's going to improve and end up outside the top 10 or right at the top 10. I said
think
last
so.
week it'd be in the teens. I still do believe that. But right now, with Detroit, Washington, and Carolina all in front of you, if you stayed pat, you'd be picking the 4th quarterback.
I see that NJ Fuentes reporter said, "Congrats, Cody. You wanted to win to show improvement. How does it feel losing draft position by winning a game 13-6?"
Yeah, not. I mean, I'll worry about draft position when it's the end of the year. I mean, I would tell you that the best quarterback in football was the 2nd quarterback taken, and he was the 10th overall pick. I'd tell you that the 2nd best quarterback in football, in most people's opinion, was the 3rd quarterback taken in his draft, and he was the 7th overall pick. So, I mean, how are the number 1 picks doing recently? They're all on different teams. Jared Goff's on a different team.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston's on a different team. Baker
Baker
Mayfield's on a
Mayfield.
different team. Even
And
the
to
number
be-
2 guys. I mean,
And
Carson Wentz is on his 3rd team.
And don't get me wrong, like I'd love to have Trevor Lawrence in Houston, but we're a year and a quarter into this, and
We got Stanford, Trevor Lawrence.
what Andrew Luck did 10 years ago, God, I can't believe it's been that long, but what Andrew Luck did 10 years ago in Indianapolis, like Trevor has not had that kind of impact in Jacksonville. You want to say Indianapolis had a better roster, that's fine, but he is not, and I like
No,
Trevor
he's
a
not
lot.
Andrew. Like,
he's not Andrew Luck.
He's not Andrew. Like,
Yeah, I think that's fair.
and that's what we
So-
thought he was. Like, that's what he
Yeah.
thought he was. He's not right now. Could he turn into it? Sure, but he's
Yeah,
not.
but he has not
I mean,
been.
like, he's not Andrew.
Yeah, he's not Andrew Luck. He's not Andrew Luck.
Are any of these guys coming out supposed to be Andrew Luck?
No, I don't think so. Not Andrew Luck. I mean, if you like
Quinn
morphed
Ewers.
Bryce
Oh, wait,
Young,
gotta wait a year.
if you made Bryce 3 inches taller and like 40 pounds heavier than people,
Okay.
then he would be a no doubt number 1 pick. No question.
You could have just said no.
I did say no, and then I made a adjustment to that. But yeah, the answer to that question is no.
I was unaware CJ Stroud all of a sudden was 6'6".
Well, he's got pretty good size. I mean, the problem here's the problem with Stroud. We
Mike
talked
is
about
going to be a
Stroud.
Will Levis guy. I already know it. I already know it. He's going to
Here's
be a
the
Will Levis guy. Yes.
Here's
Yeah.
the problem.
He's
Here's
going
the
to be
problem.
Will Levis, and there's going to be two. There's going to be one name mentioned consistently.
Josh Allen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike
problem
is
with
going to be
watching-
a Will Levis guy. Wow.
I don't know if you guys are like intently watching these Ohio State games, but the problem with watching CJ Stroud is that his receivers are so much better, even without their best guy against these Big Ten corners. It's almost unfair.
Think
it's
about
almost,
it. And
it's
he just
unfair.
lost 2 to the first round.
Yes. Top 11
And a tight
picks.
end to the 3rd.
Yes. I mean, they have better receivers than half these NFL teams
like,
do.
What
So
were people
it
saying
does
about
make it hard
Justin
to
Fields
evaluate.
when he came out? Like, and I hate when people, I hate the whole, well, you never had a quarterback out of Ohio State or Alabama. I don't like that crap. I think it's annoying, but you do have about 5 seconds to throw, and you have wide receivers that are impossible to guard for 5 seconds. And you're playing Big Ten, and you have superior everything else.
He's got 2 freaking NFL tackles blocking for him, and he's got
NFL running back.
He's got the number 1 wide receiver in the 2024 class that he gets to throw the ball to. It's like,
I mean, it does make it a
so
little
what
harder.
Mike's saying is draft C.J. Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba because you need to put talent.
Hey,
I told you guys last week. I'm actually going to be in Columbus, believe it or not, in 2 weekends when Ohio State plays Iowa. The Iowa defense, say what you will about their prehistoric offense, the Iowa defense remains it's a top 10 defense in college football.
So you're going to be on the Stroud train when he lights them up?
I'm not sure. I'm planning to go to the game, and I'll scout with my own 2 eyes.
See if you can stand next to him so that you can see how tall he is.
Yeah, and if he's 3 inches taller than me, then he's a legit 6'3". So
I'll see what I can do. He's actually 6'3". Still talking about QBs and drafts though, because Davis Mills didn't do enough today.
So what was wrong with the passing game? How would you analyze the passing game today, and what was wrong minus the touchdown drive?
Mills wasn't accurate. I mean, they really didn't have to. They were never in a position where they had to open it up. I feel like this felt like a game where they just knew it was going to be within arm's length, and they tried to outlast them, which is why Lovey punted at midfield. But there were some missed opportunities, and it was relatively conservative.
This feels like a game that, because the first 4 weeks happened, goes in the positive column for Davis Mills. That before the season, if you were expecting him to be the franchise guy, you would have put this game actually in the negative column.
So we're grading Davis Mills on a curve, is what you're saying?
But because
I think he's doing the opposite.
No, what I'm telling you is because the first 4 weeks, this performance that he put together looks better when you put it in that context. But that's not the context you're assessing Davis Mills in. So this game still is in the not good enough category. This is still not franchise quarterback category. A lot of quarterbacks could have done what Davis Mills did today.
Yeah, no question about it.
That's one of my big gripes about like a lot of QBs could have done what Davis did today. A lot of QBs could succeed with Sean McVay. I think there's a lot of different, like when you got to put the offense and what the quarterback had to do and what the offense gave them the opportunity to do in context. And a lot of QBs could have had Davis Mills' day today. A lot of QBs would have had a better day than Davis Mills today.
I mean, when the opposition scores 6 points, it's a game that you absolutely have to win. And he did just enough. But really, the highlight plays would be the completed pass to Nico Collins and the nice throw, admittedly, to Jordan Akins on that 3rd and 10. Otherwise, there wasn't really a whole lot to write home about for Davis Mills.
Tony Yayo says, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, my hope would be, okay, now you have the early season bye. You got the win. You have a chance to kind of like take a mental breather, reset, and you will face a Raider defense in 2 weeks that I don't think is a whole lot to write home about. Minus Max Crosby.
The Raiders are going to drag the Texans in 2 weeks.
Listen, they look. This is not me being optimistic. I'm just saying that like the Raiders are not good, but they are better than Houston is. But if I'm looking at this from a Davis Mills standpoint, I'm trying to evaluate it. You're going to have 2 weeks to get ready for a not good defense. So let's.
And they're going to have 2 weeks to get ready for you because they're on a bye too.
Fair enough.
So it's not like you have some sort of advantage. The Raiders have their bye week. Tony Yayo says Mills made clutch throws to Akins and Nico. I would credit the catch a little bit more on the Nico, although he did put it where he could catch it. But I was more impressed by the catch than the throw. The Akins, one of his best throws of the year. Said Quinn Ewers would not have made those throws. I don't know. I was just kidding about bringing up Quinn Ewers. It's way too early for that.
Quinn Ewers wouldn't have ever looked.
He probably would have though.
Mills does.
Yeah, he probably would.
Quinn wouldn't have had to make those throws. They'd have been winning by 30.
Do we make any trades at the deadline? Jim wants to know. We're already there.
No. They don't have any. Well, they can't add anybody. They don't have any money.
Yeah, is that question more geared toward do they sell off somebody?
Like, does someone want like Jerry Hughes for like a 6th or 7th? Like, does someone need like a favor? Jerry Hughes.
I guess. I mean, he's really slowed down. They did not put any.
But you knew
pressure on
that.
Lawrence,
Let's be honest. You knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I have started a path towards turning around on a player on the Texans. I'm not saying I'm there yet, but I now see a scenario where I'm okay with Laramie Tunsil continuing to stay on this football team.
He's been great.
I understand that.
He's been great.
Most people would have thought that this year would have been his last year. I'd like for Laramie Tunsil to stick
last year was
around
his last year.
That's what some
we
people
all did.
thought.
Yeah, the one good. All right, there's it's like a double-edged sword with Laramie, and this is why I love Laramie so much. In a perfect world, you want guys who are like Trent Williams, who are basically going to play with their brain hanging out of their head or their leg broken and all that. Laramie Tunsil, if his thumb's hurt and there's nothing to gain, he's not going to play. He's going to sit out. Laramie Tunsil is a smart business guy. Laramie Tunsil gets the big picture, but Laramie's also not going to get beaten down by losing. So with this process and stuff, Laramie Tunsil's okay either way. And he's just going to do his job and do a good job at it. I'm a Laramie Tunsil guy. He's not pissed off at all.
I know Texans Cap has been on this. This is really the first big question of their offseason is they need to, I don't think you can keep going year to year with Laramie Tunsil. Like they need to find a way to, like, is he going to be the left tackle of the future, or are you moving on and like flipping Titus, or that's going to be a hole to be filled and you get some value for it? I think a decision needs to be made on the long term. Like, what is he the solution for their left tackle position? And they're going to say, okay, once we bring in the quarterback of the future, at least we will have a top-notch passer protector at left tackle.
How much is that cap going to hop?
Oh,
so his cap number is $35 million next season if they cut him.
No. How much is the salary cap itself going to go up?
I got to look at that. I'm not sure yet. I think for 2023, it's going to jump about.
The expectation is $225 million, which would be like a $17 million jump, and then the jump for to 2024 is another $25 million to projected to maybe $256 million. So the Texans have the most cap space in football in 2024, according to overthecap.com. So any long-term investment at a guy like, say, the left tackle on the football team, you certainly have the money to make that. And you're going to have a cheap quarterback. You're either going to have a cheap quarterback because Davis Mills is good, which seems unlikely, or you're going to have a draft pick. So you have a cheap quarterback. So money can't be a conversation piece on keeping a guy like Laramie Tunsil.
It's more just a pure football decision.
This is the fun thing about the process we're in. You sprinkle in off-season questions with in-season. Nick wants to know, what do you think of Hendon Hooker? I think he's a good college quarterback.
I'm intrigued. I know people.
I'm intrigued, but I'm not ready to like throw him in there with all these other guys yet.
Let me ask you this: this is going to be a little random.
He is big.
What do you think about Hendon Hooker coming out as a prospect compared to Dak Prescott?
Dak had a larger sample size and body of work. Like that's one thing that Dak had. Dak was pretty much starting for 4 years.
But Hendon Hooker at the end of this season.
Buddy's not 6'4", 220.
Yeah. I mean, Hendon Hooker at the end of this season is going to have, based on what's happening so far, 2 high-level seasons at Tennessee playing in the SEC. That's like where quarterbacks are now as far as.
When do you think he goes in the draft will be my question. I think that would be like, because when you ask me about a quarterback from the Texans' perspective, I'm comparing him to Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Will Levis. Like,
yeah, he's not on
give me
level.
a hypothetical. What is he? Is he a day 2 guy? Is he an end of first round guy?
I'm not sure yet. I don't know yet.
I think there's a case that he might have been the first quarterback taken in this year's draft with this body of work. Like if heading into next year's draft, you can maybe say that.
He doesn't have to come out. He doesn't have to come out, does he?
Doesn't have to. And hell, who knows how much he can get at Tennessee if he keeps doing this. Come back next year, he'll probably make about $6-7 million.
I'm not sure yet. Like I'm trying to do some Googling to see like where people have him right now.
Mike, why don't you give us your own opinion instead of Googling an opinion?
Well, okay. Right now, I'd say I
would not spend a first round pick on Hendon Hooker.
I would say second round.
Okay. Top of the second round?
Yeah, I think he could be.
He is 25. Is what
that
Nick
would be a
says.
concern.
Cody hates rookies that are over the age of 22. If you're over the age of 22, Cody Stutes hates you as a rookie.
Where is this coming from?
I'm exaggerating. It's the Jordan Akins rule, though Jordan Akins was a little older than 22.
Jordan Akins was like 90, and he plays a position where age is an extreme enemy to you.
Here we go. More EA Sports. Could the Texans make a trade package to get Lamar Jackson now?
Next. Unlikely, unless
I would be happy.
Insane.
You ever watch that MTV dating show? Next,
there's a lot of those.
Where,
Next, eliminate.
Where the girl get off the bus and the guy would just see her and just hit next right away. She'd make it like 2 seconds. She'd get like $2. She'd walk right back on the bus and be like, "Whoa, why are you here?" It's like, I think we know why she's there. That's what that trade question was. It was the 2 seconds off the bus next.
All right, so good win for the Texans, much needed. Humbling for the Jags. Davis Mills still not great. Damien Pierce, great, very good effort. Wore them down. Nico Collins, good. Defense, good. Derek Stingley, awesome. Anything else we need to add before we get out of here?
I want to see more Nico Collins moving forward after the bye.
You want more volume?
A little more volume. I think there might be something there. I want to see more.
What's up, Michigan Homer?
No, I'm just that's not even a Michigan thing. That's just I'm intrigued by what I've seen the last 2 weeks.
If you look at like the positives from this game, like the good thing, like a lot of these guys are the young guys, which is a good sign. Nico, Pierce, Wallow,
Stingley.
I'm asking this.
Petrie.
I don't believe this will occur, but I'm asking this. Can Nico Collins turn into Mike Williams?
No. Which one? The Chargers one?
No, the one that's out.
No, the USC one.
Of course.
That's not a valid question. You're asking if he can turn into the Chargers Mike Williams? No, I don't think he's that good. No, I don't think so.
So what's
that's asking a lot.
Where's Nico find level? Like what can he be?
A comparison?
Yeah, what can he be?
Corey Davis?
Yeah, something like that. Where you're like a solid
Davis.
A solid possession number.
Corey Davis
receiver.
is a good receiver.
I'm gonna need him to be better than
decent.
Corey Davis.
That's not bad.
He's decent.
Heading into today, Nico Collins averaged 18.8 yards per reception.
His stats are not gonna tell the full story of what he can be. He's gonna need better quarterback play if we're just gonna measure him by stats.
Well, but what I'm saying is look, like Mike Williams is really, really good and was really, really good last year. But Mike Williams was a disappointment as a first-round pick until really last year. It felt like last year was the big breakout year.
Wasn't he also banged up with a neck injury? Like he had some significant issues going on there.
Well, he's played almost every game every year. Yeah,
I know. His second season, he didn't have a whole lot of yards. He did have 10 touchdowns. Mike Williams was the 7th overall pick in the draft. I think that's asking.
And he was a hell of a receiver at Clemson.
Yeah, I just think that's asking a whole lot.
I'm just wondering can he be poor man's Mike Williams?
Corey Davis.
I'll take poor man's Mike Williams for $500, Alex.
Now, Corey Davis was like the 5th overall pick, but he's not the level of talent that a 5th overall pick should be.
I know, but if he plays like Corey Davis, I think that's a good thing. Mike Williams. I don't know what the other comp is.
And he needs to be better than Corey Davis. Corey Davis never had a 1,000-yard season. Never scored more than 5 touchdowns.
Okay.
And because the reason I'm asking is because Brandon Cooks ain't gonna be number 1 wide receiver worthy forever.
Man, is it kind of troubling that his production's fallen off? Like, what is that? I mean, I thought for sure Cooks was just going to be.
I don't know if there's any respect.
People loved him in fantasy, right?
I don't know that you respect anybody else that you have to defend. Who do you have to defend?
Wasn't that the same thing last year? And he still had 90 catches.
You learned from your mistakes last year.
You learned from your mistakes. I think Mills has been bad enough to where it's a possibility that Cooks has dropped off, but it's hard for me to judge because I just need to see more games because what's going on at quarterback, it's hard for me to evaluate right now.
I'm trying to turn Nico Collins into Mike Williams, and people are saying I'm negative.
Yeah, I saw someone said Cody's always negative. He's talking about Nico being Mike Williams, not Evans. If you said Evans, then we would probably have left a long time ago, sir. But Mike Williams, and Cody's the negative guy. That's why I like talking to Cody. He makes me the positive guy. This is like a new thing for me.
You're the bias. Yeah.
All right, gents. Appreciate y'all as always. I feel like we covered a lot of ground here. We got to talk about a win.
Are you going to do Astro stuff on here?
Yes. Every game. Every post game.
Okay.
Fair.
Okay. Good. The folks need to subscribe.
Are you down or what?
I just really want to see Mike talk baseball because he says some crazy stuff about football, and I'm sure to get even weirder about baseball.
This is baseball. You guys should join me for Astros. We're gonna have, I think, Spo.
Mariners scare me. That's my
come
take.
on!
All right,
they got something special going.
All right, let's get out of here. What is this? The refuse
Believe,
to lose year?
Scott Service.
Is this the refuse to lose year?
Might be their
year.
Hey,
I will say this. I thought it was kind of bitty at the start of the season. Scott Service's decision to stir up some drama in the regular season might pay off. That might be something that gives his team a little extra something. I thought it was a bit in the season. It might pay off here. Little beef, little juice is flowing.
It should be fun.
No,
I have one quick college question.
Yes.
Okay.
When Cliff Kingsbury gets fired in Arizona, is Jimbo going to hire him to run the offense in College Station?
He should.
For that,
that'd be a great idea.
I'm out.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm out on that one. Thank you, Landry.